What if I told you the moment your life shattered was not your end, but the exact second your real power was born? This is not just another speech. This is the truth you were never told about pain, about purpose, and the fire inside you that refuses to die. Stay with me, because by the end, you will never see your scars the same way again. There is a moment in life when everything stands still, not because you found peace, but because the chaos just got louder. The sky was clear that morning, too clear, like the world was pretending nothing was wrong. He stood in the middle of the room, staring at a phone that refused to ring. Silence, the kind of silence that screams in your ears. His heart was pounding, not like a drum, but like a warning. Faster, harder, like it was trying to escape his chest. The walls felt closer, the air thicker. His hands were cold, but his skin was burning. Every breath tasted like metal, like the edge of something sharp and final. He had lost something, not an object, not a person. He had lost himself. Life had thrown him off the tracks, and there was no map, no light, no voice telling him which way to go. The ground under his feet felt cracked. Every step forward felt like walking on glass. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out, because when life breaks you, it does not always come with a warning. It sneaks in while you are smiling. It crushes you while the world keeps moving. No one saw him fall. No one heard his soul shatter. But he was breaking, not loudly, quietly, beautifully, brutally. And in that break, he found something. Not strength, not clarity, but truth. The truth that pain does not knock. It kicks the door open and walks in. It tears through your comfort. It ruins your plans. It steals your voice. But in the middle of that storm, something stirs. Not hope. Not yet. Something deeper. A decision. To not give up. To not stay broken. To not let the story end here. He stood again. Not because he felt strong, but because he was tired of crawling. The light did not return instantly, but his eyes adjusted to the dark. And in that darkness, he remembered something. The fire inside him was not dead. It was buried, waiting, watching, hungry. And that was the moment life made a mistake. It thought it had broken him completely. It thought he would never rise again. But life forgot one thing. It forgot that sometimes, when you break a person, you do not destroy them. You awaken them. You peel back the layers of safety and comfort. And underneath, there is something raw, something untamed, something that does not quit. He began to walk. Not fast, not steady, but forward. Every step was a decision. Every breath was a rebellion. The world had written him off. People had stopped calling, stopped asking. They had moved on, as if his silence meant disappearance. But silence is never absence. It is the birthplace of transformation. He stopped looking for the pieces of who he used to be. He stopped trying to fix the version of himself that life had shattered. Instead, he started building someone new. Not better, not perfect, just real. The nights were still cold, the thoughts still loud. But he was not the same man who broke. He could feel the weight in his chest. But now, he carried it like armor. Pain did not scare him anymore. It became a companion, a reminder of where he had been. He saw the world differently. Not softer, not harder, just clearer. He noticed the cracks in others, the way their eyes darted when they smiled, the way their hands trembled when they pretended. And he understood them, because he had been there, because part of him was still there, climbing, crawling, becoming. There is something terrifying about being broken, but there is something powerful about surviving it. You stop fearing failure. You stop chasing approval. You stop lying to yourself. Because once you have faced the darkness within, no one else's shadow scares you. He no longer needed to prove himself. He no longer needed applause to feel alive. He had built worth from the ashes. Every scar told a story, not of defeat but of defiance, of standing when he had every reason to stay down, of choosing to breathe, even when every breath burned. He began to chase something different. Not money, not fame, but meaning, connection, truth. He talked less and listened more. He laughed, not because everything was fine, but because he knew laughter was a victory, a small rebellion against pain. a reminder that joy still lived inside him. The people around him began to notice, not because he shined, but because he burned, quietly, constantly, with a light that came from survival. He became a mirror. People saw their strength in him, not because he was unbreakable, but because he was living proof that breaking is not the end. He no longer waited for the perfect moment. He created moments. He spoke when it mattered. He walked away when it hurt. He stopped apologizing for growing. Life still tested him, still threw storms at his doorstep, but he did not panic. He had already faced the worst storm, himself, and he made peace with the wreckage. He had learned that healing is not loud. It is slow, messy, often invisible, but real, and it shows up in the little things. In the way you get out of bed when your mind begs you not to. In the way you smile at a stranger, even when you are tired of people. In the way you choose to love again, trust again, try again. Because when life breaks you, it gives you a choice. Stay shattered, or rise different. He chose the second, not once, but every single day. Because healing is not an event. It is a decision, repeated, relentless, revolutionary. And though he still had scars, he wore them proudly, not as wounds, but as weapons, not to hurt, but to remind himself that he survived, to remind others that they can too, to show the world that broken is not useless, broken is real, broken is brave, broken is the beginning of becoming. So if life breaks you, let it crush the lies you believed about yourself, let it destroy the illusion of control, let it burn away the fear. Then rise, with eyes that have seen darkness, with a heart that still dares to beat, with a spirit that refuses to quit, because the ones who have been broken and still rise are the ones who carry fire, not just for themselves, but for the world, because the ones who carry fire are the ones who know what it feels like to freeze. They know the silence of lonely nights, the emptiness of pretending, the exhaustion of holding it all together. They have faced mirrors that reflected nothing back. They have whispered to ceilings, begging for a reason to stay. And still they stayed. Still they stood. Not because they were fearless, but because they refused to let fear define the rest of their story. He began to realize that pain is not the enemy. Pain is a messenger. It arrives with no manners, no warning, no mercy. But it speaks the truth. It shows you what matters. It strips you of the noise, the distractions, the masks. It reveals who you are beneath it all. He had spent years trying to be who the world told him to be, trying to keep people happy, trying to fit in, trying to shrink himself just enough to be accepted, but not enough to disappear. But pain had a different plan. It came not to destroy, but to wake him up. He remembered the first time he laughed after the fall. It was not loud. It was not planned. It just happened, soft, broken, beautiful. And in that moment, he felt alive again. Not healed, but real. He started noticing small things. The way the sunlight hit the floor in the morning. The way strangers smiled back when he looked them in the eye. The way music felt in his chest, like a heartbeat reminding him he was still here. These were not miracles, but they felt like them. Because after you have been numb for so long, feeling anything is a gift. He began rebuilding, not with plans, not with perfection, but with presence. Every day became a brick. Every act of kindness, every boundary set, every truth spoken, another piece of the foundation. He learned to sit with his pain without running from it, to listen to his fears without obeying them, to cry without shame, to fail without apology. There were still days when he felt the weight return, still nights when the old voices whispered that he was not enough. But now he had answers. Now he had proof. He had survived before, and he would survive again. He stopped trying to be invincible, and instead became honest. He told his story, not to impress, but to connect, because someone somewhere needed to hear it. Someone was sitting in the same darkness he had once known, and they needed to know they were not alone. His voice became a bridge, not perfect, not polished, but powerful, because it was real. The fire inside him no longer raged with anger. It burned with purpose. It warmed the spaces he once froze in. It lit the paths of others who who were still crawling through their own storms. He understood now that life, breaking him, had been a brutal blessing. It stripped away the false safety. It shattered the shallow comfort. And in its place, it gave him clarity. It gave him depth. It gave him heart. The man who once begged for the pain to stop now stood in front of it and said, "I see you, but you do not get to own me anymore." He did not chase peace. He created it. With every choice to rise, with every moment of courage, with every act of grace, he forgave people who never said sorry. He let go of things he never thought he could live without. He walked away from places that dimmed his light. And he never forgot. Not to fall. Not to fear. Not to break. Because that was where he was reborn. That was where he became more than just a survivor. He became a builder. A believer. A beacon. Now, when storms come, he does not flinch. He opens his arms and says, "I know this place. I have been here before. And I am not afraid." Because the truth is, when life breaks you, it also gives you something priceless. It gives you yourself. The unedited, uncensored, undeniable version. The one who does not hide. The one who does not need permission. The one who rises, not to impress, but to live. So, if you are in the breaking, if you are on the floor, if you feel like the weight is too heavy, know this: you are not finished. This moment is not your ending. This pain is not your prison. You are being refined. You are being reshaped. You are being made into someone the world desperately needs. Do not rush it. Do not fake it. Just breathe. Just take one step, then another, and one day, maybe sooner than you think, you will look back, not with regret, but with reverence, because you will see that your breaking was the beginning of your becoming. Because your becoming was never about perfection. It was never about being untouched by pain or untouched by failure. It was about becoming aware, awake, alive. You will look back at the pieces scattered across the floor, the fragments of your old self, and you will not wish them whole again. You will not want the past restored. You will understand that the version of you that shattered had to break, so something deeper could emerge. You will remember the silence that once haunted you, and realize it became the birthplace of your inner voice, that the darkness that once consumed you became the space where your light was born. You will not curse the nights that broke you, because they taught you how to rise without a hand to hold. They taught you how to speak truth when your voice trembled, how to keep going when your feet were cut and bleeding from every step forward. The world will ask how you survived, how you kept going when everything fell apart. And your answer will not be simple, because survival was not one choice. It was 1,000 small ones. It was getting out of bed when your bones felt too heavy. It was brushing your teeth with tears in your eyes. It was sending the message even when your hand shook. It was saying no when you were used to saying yes. It was showing up again and again, even when you felt invisible. They will want to know your secret. They will ask what saved you. And you will smile, not with pride, but with peace, because you will know the truth. You saved yourself. Not all at once, not without scars, but piece by piece, pain by pain, step by trembling step. You faced the fire. You walked through it. And you did not come out untouched. You came out transformed. There's a power in that. Not loud, not showy, not the kind that demands attention, but quiet, unshakable, rooted. The kind of power that cannot be taken, because it was not given. It was earned, forged in the heat of struggle, sharpened in the silence of loneliness, polished in the hands of perseverance. And now, that power lives in your eyes, in the way you carry yourself, in the way you listen, in the way you speak truth, even when your voice is soft. You become a light for others, not because you try to shine, but because you refuse to dim. You refuse to pretend. You refuse to go back to who you were before the break, because that version of you was living someone else's dream, wearing someone else's smile, speaking someone else's truth. But not anymore. Now you walk in your own name. Now you build with your own hands. Now you rise, not because you are fearless, but because you are willing. Willing to feel, willing to fail, willing to grow. And that willingness becomes a weapon, not to fight others, but to fight for your own peace. You stop running from the past. You stop fearing the future. And you start owning your present, every inch of it. Even the mess. Even the uncertainty. Even the doubt. Because you have seen what it means to be broken. And you know that nothing, no pain, no loss, no betrayal, can take away your will to rise again. You become a storm wrapped in skin. A whisper with the force of thunder. A scar that speaks louder than shame ever could. You do not need applause. You do not need permission. You do not need to wait for someone to call you strong. You already are. And strength, you realize, is not about how much you can carry, but about how many times you are willing to put yourself back together, even when the world tells you not to bother. This journey, this rise from the ashes, is not one the world always sees, but that is what makes it sacred, because the greatest transformations, the ones that truly change us, happen in the dark, in the quiet, in the moments no one claps for. And yet, you keep going. You keep choosing yourself. You keep becoming. So when you walk now, you walk with grace. Not because the road is smooth, but because your soul is grounded. When you speak, people listen. Not because you shout, but because your words are lined with truth. And when you look in the mirror, you do not see the same person anymore. You see someone forged in fire, tempered by loss, held together not by ease, but by intention. And in that reflection, you see the truth you had forgotten. When life breaks you, it does not end you. It reveals you. It strips away the noise and calls you home, to yourself. To yourself, the version you buried beneath expectations, beneath fear, beneath the endless need to be accepted by people who never truly saw you. The version that whispered in the silence, long before anyone else believed in you. That voice, the quiet one, was always yours. It was never gone. Only waiting. Waiting for you to get still enough to hear it again. And now you do. You hear it in the pause between your breaths, in the steady beat of your heart, in the way your feet touch the ground and do not tremble anymore, in the way you face the mirror and no longer look away. Because you remember who you are, not who you were told to be, not who the world tried to make you, not who you pretended to be when the fear was louder than the truth, but who you were before the noise. The scars on your soul, they do not disqualify you. They are your proof. Proof that you felt deeply, that you lived honestly, that you broke completely, and still chose to rebuild. You did not wait for the world to hand you permission. You gave yourself that. You rose in silence. You walked through fire without an audience. And now, you move with a power that cannot be explained. People will ask what changed. They will notice the light in your eyes, the calm in your presence, the certainty in your steps, and you will smile gently because you know the change was not sudden. It was not dramatic. It was daily. It was invisible. It was sacred. They will think your strength is new, but you know better. It was always there, buried under years of self-doubt, fear, and survival. It just needed a reason, and life breaking you gave it one. You no longer chase love that runs. You no longer beg to be understood. You no longer shrink to fit into places you have outgrown. You walk your path, even if it is alone, even if it is quiet, even if no one claps, because you are not here for performance. You are here for presence, for truth, for the sacred work of becoming. You forgive yourself now, not because the past was easy to let go, but because you finally realize it was never your prison. It was your passage. It led you here, to this clarity, to this courage, to this peace. You used to need noise. Now you crave stillness. You used to fill space, just to feel seen. Now, you let your presence speak for itself. You used to fear endings. Now you understand that every ending clears the space for something far more aligned. And that is the magic of being broken. It forces you to rebuild on truth, on values that matter, on boundaries that protect, on love that does not ask you to disappear. You are no longer a question mark in your own life. You are a statement, a declaration, not of perfection, but of presence. There's a new softness in you, not weakness, but wisdom, a knowing that not everything needs a fight, that some things are not meant to be held, that peace sometimes comes when you walk away. You protect your energy now, not out of fear, but because you finally understand its worth. You are no longer willing to hand your light to people who live in shadows. You are no longer desperate to explain your worth. You embody it in your choices, in your silence, in your standards. And the people who truly see you, they will not need convincing. They will not need performance. They will meet you in your truth. They will recognize the fire because they carry one too. Now you wake up, not just to survive, but to live, to taste, to feel, to build. You no longer rush the journey. You trust it. You no longer curse the storm. You respect it because you learned to dance in the rain before the sun ever returned. And now when it shines, you do not take it for granted. You soak it in, not as a reward, but as a reminder that everything you thought would end you actually introduced you to the real you. That life-breaking you was never the finale. It was the opening scene of a new chapter, written in your own voice, with your own hands, on your own terms. So if today you feel like the pieces are too many, like the silence is too loud, like the fire is gone, hold on, because even now, in this very moment, something within you refuses to give up. That is not weakness. That is not delusion. That is your truth remembering itself. The same truth that carried you this far will carry you further. Because no matter how many times life breaks you, as long as you keep choosing to rise, you are undefeated. Because being undefeated does not mean you were never knocked down. It means you never stayed down. It means every time life buried you, it underestimated your roots. It forgot that beneath your skin, your bones, your breath, was a spirit built from centuries of survival. You are the child of endurance, the descendant of resilience. Your soul remembers battles your mind cannot. Your blood carries the wisdom of every time you wanted to quit, and did not. You walk with invisible wounds, but they do not weaken you. They sharpen you. They remind you that pain is not proof of failure. It is evidence that you are still alive, still reaching, still fighting for more. There were nights your voice shook as you whispered for strength. Days when your hands trembled, holding yourself together. Moments when you smiled through the weight of invisible storms. And still you moved. Still, you dared to breathe again. That is bravery in its purest form. People look at you now and see calm. They see control. They see grace. But they do not know the war it took to earn your peace. They do not know the nights you begged to disappear, or the mornings you forced yourself to rise anyway. They do not see how many times you were your own anchor, how often you cried in silence, how many prayers you whispered, not to be saved, but just to survive one more day. But that is the thing about true warriors. They do not announce their victories. They walk quietly, knowing their strength is not for show. It is for survival. It is for creation. It is for purpose. Now you speak differently. Your words carry weight, not because you shout, but because you know what silence costs. You love differently, with boundaries, with depth, with honesty. Not because you are guarded, but because you know what it feels like to be broken by people who never truly saw you. You live differently, more intentional, more present, because you have faced your own end and chose to begin again. You no longer run from pain. You sit with it. You ask it what it came to teach. And when it speaks, you listen, because you are no longer afraid of what breaks you. You know now that breaking is not the enemy. Breaking is the beginning of truth, the beginning of shedding, the beginning of rising not as who you were, but as who you are becoming. This life, it does not promise ease. It does not promise fairness. It promises only one thing, that you will be tested, pushed, stretched, broken, but also that you will be given the tools to rebuild, that you will find the strength to rise, that every scar will become a map, and when you follow it, you will not find a version of you that once begged for safety. You will find a version of you that was never afraid of fire, the one who walks through it now, unburned, unbowed, unbreakable. People may never understand your journey. They may never know what it cost you, but that is not their burden. It is your honor, because you know what it means to keep breathing when the world feels too heavy. You know how it feels to build something from nothing, to take broken pieces and shape them into something sacred. You are not just a survivor. You are an artist of resilience. You paint your future with the colors of pain and purpose. You sculpt your soul with the tools life tried to use to destroy you. You do not just endure storms. You learn to dance in them. And when others see rain, you see rebirth. When they see endings, you see space to begin again. When they see ruins, you see the foundation. Because you have become fluent in the language of loss. You understand grief. You have made peace with darkness. And now, you carry light not because it was given to you, but because you created it. Your breath is power. Your presence is a promise. Your story is a survival guide for someone else. So you keep walking, even when the path is lonely, even when it is quiet, even when it hurts. Because every step you take is a message to the world. I am still here. I am still standing. I am still becoming. And that is everything. And that is everything. Because being here, truly here, after all you have faced, is not just survival. It is triumph. It is standing in a world that once tried to crush you and choosing to build instead. Build peace. Build purpose. Build love that begins within. There is no applause loud enough to echo the silent victories you win every day. Waking up when your soul feels heavy. Showing kindness in a world that has shown you cruelty. Staying soft when the world tried to harden you. You are the quiet rebellion against every voice that told you you were not enough. You are the answer to your own prayers, the fulfillment of a strength you did not even know you had. Do not wait for validation. Do not wait for the world to call you worthy. You have already proven that. Every breath you take is a reminder that life could not break you. It only redefined you. You are no longer chasing things that do not feed your soul. You are choosing alignment over approval, depth over distraction, truth over comfort. You no longer shape yourself to fit into places that shrink you. You honor your space. You honor your voice. You honor your journey. And yes, there's still hard days. There's still quiet nights. But now, you meet them differently. You no longer fear the darkness. You sit with it. You talk to it. You learn from it. Because now you understand that darkness is not the absence of light. It is the beginning of it. You are not running anymore. You are facing. You are healing. You are rewriting the story you were given. It does not have to be the story you live. You hold the pen now. You choose the ending. No more shrinking to fit the past. No more pretending to be fine. You speak your pain now. You honor your truth. You breathe in your scars. And you breathe out strength. And when the world sees you walking, with grace, with quiet power, they will not see the ashes you rose from. They will only see the fire in your eyes. But you will remember. You will always remember. The tears, the nights, the silence, the breaking. And you will honor it. Not with regret, but with reverence. Because it all made you. The loss, the loneliness, the letting go. It brought you home. To yourself. To your power. To your truth. You are not broken. You are not ruined. You are not lost. You are rebuilding. You are rising. You are becoming. And no one, no pain, no past, no voice of doubt can take that away. So walk on. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that you were always right. To believe. To stay. To fight. Because when life breaks you, it is not the end. It is the doorway to the most powerful version of you have ever known. And now, as you stand here, wiser, stronger, more whole than ever before, let this moment be your reminder. You did not just survive. You transformed. You turned pain into power, wounds into wisdom, fear into fuel. You are no longer defined by what broke you. You are defined by how you rose, by how you chose to keep going when every part of you wanted to stop. So take a breath. Look at how far you have come. Not because it was easy, but because you refused to give up. And as you move forward, let the world feel your presence. Let them witness your light. Not the light that never faced darkness, but the light that survived it. The light that grew in it. The light that now shines brighter because of it. This is your story. Own it. Live it. Speak it. Let it be a torch for those still walking through their own fire. Because if life ever breaks you again, and it might, you will rise once more. Not the same, but better. Always better. And that is your power. That is your legacy.